Today's guest is originally from New Iberia, Louisiana, and has been living in Nashville for the past couple of years, producing for various artists and releasing his own original music. I had the pleasure of playing an acoustic gig with this guy, and he's an incredible guitar player and singer. So please enjoy this conversation with Johnny Cochran. Yeah,
This is a good setup. The couches are nice too. I need me a couch like this.
yeah. We
It's
pretty
great.
much just like gutted the whole studio back in Lafayette and just brought it over here in a U-Haul.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where did y'all live in Lafayette?
Well, I was living in Bro Bridge, but
That's where I would probably go if I was around Lafayette right now.
Yeah.
Either there or Scott.
yeah.
I like the edges a lot. Really? Either that or part of me was like, maybe I go to St. Martinville.
Yeah.
I want to build the house that I had in Gallatin on the bayou.
Yeah.
That's my dream right there.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that it was nice. It was just a vibe. It was like, it was built as like a lake house initially. It was on the water out there. But the owner had to move it because they widened a bridge. The city widened a bridge. So they bought him out and he had to move it across the water. But it was like it was like a wooden like lake house vibe with like a big wraparound porch, and it was off the ground, and it was a bunch of land. And then like with it being all made out of wood, the room sounded incredible. You know, it was a great drum room and everything. So, and it was one bed, one bath, which was perfect for me. So yeah, if I could have that on the bayou,
Yeah.
would be the shit.
Yeah.
And I'd like to like the day I'm ready to move out of it, get something bigger. I'll just be like, that's the studio now, you know?
Yeah.
But nah, for now I'm in Nashville. I'm staying here for now. There's no immediate plan to go back unless I don't get booked for the next couple months and I'm living in the van. I just want to live in the van down by the bayou. That's what I want.
Yeah, man. You get a little van studio. Get the
It'd probably sound like trash. It's just a big open like metal shell.
Yeah.
So the reflections would just be immediate like that.
Dang. Yeah, man. I'd love it. That's the kind of the dream of having a studio on the bayou, man.
It would be sick.
Yeah, it's just like kayak access right there. Yeah.
Where are you going to kayak to and from?
Just up and down.
Just to your other friend's studio down the bayou right there?
Yeah. Not too far.
Are we running right now?
Yeah, we're
Okay,
rolling.
nice.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Man. So I mean that's kind of a crazy thing you're talking about. Like I think that's a really awesome strategy you're thinking of with the online marketing. I'd love to talk kind of more about that.
It's everything.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I wouldn't consider myself somebody who's had a ton of like, maybe the way to say it is commercial success.
Sure.
Just in terms of, you know, stats and numbers and streams and stuff like that. But the times that I've had any sense of momentum with it,
Yeah.
it was marketing dollars and ad spend on like, you know, whatever my best music video was or whatever at the time. Best piece of content with a little bit of money behind it to send it out organically has been like probably the most potent like piece of getting the music out and getting people into, you know, the atmosphere of the music and everything like that.
Yeah.
Just when you're a broke musician, it's fucking hard, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Can I curse on this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. You can bleep me too if you need.
Nah, all good. Fuck it.
Hopefully my mom won't watch this. She'd be disappointed.
Yeah. No, we got a couple little viewers back in Louisiana, some older folks with the Facebook.
Does my cousin Joe Bob watch this?
I'm not sure. He might have seen an episode or two.
Okay.
But
Okay.
no.
Did he tell Bradley? Did he tell you how we kind of connected? No. Okay, so long story short, he met I say cousin. He's like my dad's cousin, but because his dad was my dad's uncle, which was J.P. Thibodeau, the car sales guy back home. Yeah, which he passed in the early 2000s, but I guess you ran into him at a show.
Yeah. He was following Dom Ellis, and me and Brad started playing with him a little bit, and he was definitely at our shows and checking
Yeah,
us
he
out.
gets out and watches stuff a bunch.
Yeah.
I guess he just gets bored or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's got plenty of money, so he's probably just kicking it.
Yeah.
He's a good dude. Yeah, for sure. He's like, he got that Youngsville bougie thing going on. You know what I'm talking about?
For sure. I went to go see someone play at a little acoustic gig at a bar, and he's at the bar. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like, this guy's everywhere.
Yeah. He likes the music, man.
Yeah.
He's a cool dude.
Dang.
So you were asking about the marketing. Is there something else you wanted to ask about that?
No, I mean, I just think, it's a really like at UL they were teaching us about marketing and that the importance of the funnel and the importance of
Mm.
like having sticky content and like having
Was this in the music school?
yeah, I'm in music business.
Are you still in it?
No, I graduated.
But I'm just surprised they were talking about that in the music
Mhm.
school. Interesting.
Yeah, we had Tim Benson.
Yeah.
Great teacher, man. He was really transparent with what he's doing with his cover band and how he's running his marketing business and stuff like that.
Yeah. Isn't he the owner of what's the Lafayette Music School?
Yeah,
What's it called?
Uh,
ASA.
no, I don't think
No.
he doesn't do ASA. He does it's like Music Academy or like
Yeah, it's the one by Sam's Club or
Right,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
for sure that's him.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean it's just like we're trying to make content in here and like we're still trying to figure out how to make authentic content and how to make a space online that's like engaging and sticky and like people can really, be a part of your brand on that thing. And I think we're still trying to figure it out. But how are you kind of approaching that?
Well, I've been in stasis basically just on or what would be the way to say it? I've been on hiatus for a
Yeah.
bit. So I really nothing at the moment, but we were talking about Patreon's kind of one component. Patreon I kind of think of as like home base because it's the people who are the most invested who are going to be there. I see a lot of artists do Discord just for like it's almost like a chat room
Sure.
for fans. I think Instagram's got a feature that's kind of like that now. I don't know. That's a big question though. So like,
Yeah.
I think what's most important that most people are skipping over in the marketing question and the content question is like, what is your vibe and where are you comfortable? Where are you able to like put the camera in front of you and not feel like it's contrived?
Right.
Because like we were saying, like I don't want to be on TikTok, fucking
Yeah, dancing, shaking butt.
right? Because I'm gonna go viral for the wrong reasons, right?
Yeah, sure.
And that's the thing is you don't want to just chase that virality. Like you want to.
Yeah.
It's better to connect with a few people the right way
Yeah.
than everybody the wrong way. And so I think it's not just about like hitting a huge market. I think of it a little bit the other way around. There's are you familiar with Patrick Bet-David? He's a
no.
big businessman, somewhat political, YouTube host, whatever.
Sure.
But he talks about a book called Blue Ocean Strategy, which is basically like, if you're in the shoe business, don't go try to be Nike. Like you're going to just lose that battle because Nike's already Nike. So try to be the best at whatever your niche is, niche down harder. And so that you're in just an open ocean with nobody else trying to compete with you. So, again, finding a lane that's unique to you and then finding the people who resonate with that is going to be more potent than having a million casual fans. It's the super fans you really want who are going to spend money on merch and who are going to subscribe to Patreon and who are going to follow you even when you do get quiet and you're like me and you suffer a dog bite and you have to go off off the grid for a little while. And because if you play that, I feel like if you play that just totally up the middle game, then you're gonna get forgotten really fast. Whereas like the more that you're building a deeper connection with fans and with people who are interested, the more of a long-term play that's gonna be. In music industry, like it's easy to think what everybody sees at any given time is always the short game, which is why you're always familiar with who's the hot thing right now or whatever.
Yeah.
And then somebody will say something about somebody like Dave Matthews Band, and you realize like these dudes have been huge, mega huge for years, and nobody's talking about them on the radio, at least not unless you're in again a little niche market and you've got some little side by whatever thing. And so I think there's a lot of potency in the fact that a band like that does their thing and ignores the fact that it's not trendy or it's not on TikTok or it's not any given way. I think you got to figure out what works for you more so. And again, I think you have to feel like comfortable with it inside. So like people who are like, I don't want to get on TikTok and do this stuff, like then don't. But you got to find some way to do it. And so for some people, it's paid ads. If you got bankroll, I think that's the best way to do it because you can target specific people. You can retarget them, based on if they liked it. And then you just, you can build an army of fans from there. But there's a lot of ways to do it. I think it ultimately comes down, like I said, to being honest and like unique to yourself.
Yeah. I'm sure you've met a lot of people in Nash. Is there anyone that you look up to or think is doing it right, that is really kind of making long-lasting
That's a good
content?
question. There's a girl named Brooke Alex
Mm.
who I met when I first came to town. She actually did some photos for me early on, and she's recently just popped off really hard in the pop world. And she's just a fucking hustler. She just is on it all the time, and she did it long enough that she finally broke through. And it looks like she's killing it with that now. A lot of respect. Shout out to Brooke Alex for being, again, just a hustler. She gets it.
Yeah.
Another one I would say, although I don't think he's as much of a content fiend as she is Knox. If you're familiar with this guy, Knox. He's kind of in the, I guess, again, pop rock world. He might be a little bit of a different story from Brooke, because as far as I understand, Brooke is still an independent artist. Knox is with maybe Warner. Don't quote me on that. He's on some label. But he's experienced a really big pop the last couple years. One of my favorite artists right now too, but he's great on that. For me, I don't know that the content is ever what generally pulls me in. At the end of the day, it's about the music. So I think there's a fine line in between being like, I just wrote the song of the summer, and getting everybody to pay attention, and then like actually having a good song that follows that up. So I don't think you necessarily need grabby hooks all the time.
Yeah.
I do think you need something to get people to stick around. But at the end of the day, like, what's more important is just matching your algorithm to people who are interested in what you do.
Sure.
And so, like, if you're like me, I would argue that, like, earlier on in my career, one thing that kind of put a ceiling on me was being in the country world, where as much as I enjoy that music still, it was never like I wouldn't consider it a demographic that I grew up like resonating with or relating to, or like professing to be a part of.
Right.
And so when I got into that world, as much as I was able to, you know, on the music proper side of things, make a lot of great connections and have people believe in me and stuff, I think it was harder to connect with actual fans who probably look at me and they're like, this dude's not country. And there is some validity to that. I feel like I'm probably more Southern than I'm country, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So talking about her hustle, like what kind of content was she really like what kind of content was she pushing out?
Brooke, I think, her content to me feels a little more TikTok mainstream. But the thing is that is her, like, her personality falls into that well.
Sure.
And so it's not contrived.
Right.
It's not her, you know, just trying to join the cool kids or something like that. Like, she kind of just more so is one of the cool kids in that way, that she's, you know, she's probably, I would assume, identifying with the trends that she's participating in. And I'm sure there's probably some stuff some days that it's a grind too. And, you know,
absolutely.
But yeah, I think hers feels a little bit more up the middle, a little bit influencer type.
Yeah.
You're not as likely to see like a music video style thing where maybe she's playing with a band. She has some stuff like that, like, you know, live clips and stuff. But with Knox, the other guy I was talking about, like, when I see his content in terms of like Reels style or TikTok style, it's almost predominantly like clips of him singing with his band behind him, and he just throws the lyrics on the screen. And I think that's the epitome of what it is. You know, take a shot of something and just show yourself with it. Let the music play, and then, you know, I think a lot of it is throwing that out for a while, and then if you've done that for 6 months and nothing's moving the needle, yeah, maybe you need something that's more eye catching, or maybe the music's not good, or again, maybe you're just not hitting the right, you know, the right lane or the right channel or something like that, you know.
Yeah. To kind of take a tangent, you mentioned the dog bite. I didn't know much about that.
Can you see it right here on the right side? It's easier to see
a little bit. How did that kind of affect you? You said you went off the grid, and
I haven't talked about this too much actually outwardly, so this is actually a good opportunity to talk about it. I got a dog. His name was Gumbo, appropriately so. His nickname was Boog, is what I called him most of the time. But I got him maybe about 2 years ago now, and he's a great dog. He's very high energy. He's a beagle.
Yeah.
And he was a lot to keep up with, but he was a great dog. He slept in the bed with me. He was chilling. He loved people. We had a great time. But when I was moving out of that house, I was cleaning out the fridge, and I pulled some old chicken out, and I threw it in the trash. And then unbeknownst to me, he went and picked it out of the trash. And so he was only maybe about 29, 30 pounds. So I didn't want him to choke. And when I turned around, he was in the middle of swallowing a chicken leg whole straight.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And so I went to grab it from him and tried to take it, and he kind of growled at me, and I still tried to take it. I had taken food from him this way before, and I'm the dog expert, but I probably should have listened to his growl a little bit better, and respected the boundary. I didn't, in hindsight, I didn't see it that way, and he just lashed out at me, and I don't know if he even necessarily meant to go that hard at me, but he caught me right there, and I mean, just immediately, it sliced, and it was, I mean, huge. I just could immediately feel, and so I just, the first thing that happened, it was a big just rush of what's it called, of adrenaline.
Yeah.
And I had to create. It seemed like he kind of knew that he messed up. He was a little bit like freaked out afterward, and then when the paramedics came and everything, he was worried about it. And so I did end up having to put him down. It wasn't his first bite. He had bitten a friend of mine before whenever our dogs were tussling over something, and to the degree that I've done like that I've researched it. My understanding was that at some point they'll start to learn it, as an effective way of deterring threat. And it was a really tough decision. I didn't want to have to do that, but I did a lot of consulting through it. I was messed up over it for a while.
Yeah. Understand.
And I did have to do that, but I still miss him. And I've never prayed so much the dogs go to heaven. So I'm hoping to see my homie again one day.
Man.
Yeah,
man. I just lost a dog, and that's so sad, man.
Yeah, I never realized how heavy it was. I mean, I'd had pets in the past that I lost, but this was the first time that this was like my dog and my pet and solely my responsibility, etc. And it's weird. It's a very conflicting feeling, because to some degree you feel like you were attacked. So there's a fear piece of it where I'm a little nervous around other dogs sometimes. They're usually fine, but at first I'm a little like,
wow.
I kind of, reach over to pet them.
Yeah, I know what they're capable of.
But I mean,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's tough sometimes. You just, you got to make a tough decision like that. And I just do what I thought I'd do.
Was that like a recovery process, and that's kind of affected your grind?
As a man, I'm consistently like hyper, slightly unaware of my own feelings at any given time. I know they're there, and I'm like, I don't understand what the hell is going on in my mind. But to the degree that I can think about it, I feel like I threw it a little bit back of mind for a while, for the last couple months of last year, because this only happened maybe like 6 months ago.
Wow.
But I definitely turned a corner more recently. I feel like, where I was, just facing the reality of it and remembering that, like, even if I had him for his whole life, I'd have still had to, let go of him at some point, however that worked out, and just tried to be thankful for what I did have with him, because he had a great life, dude. We had a huge piece of land out there, and like, I just let him run, bro. Even when he was like 2 months old, he'd just go run out there. I'd find him in the farmer's land all the time. He's running around with the sheeps and stuff, and he'd bring home dead birds and lamb's legs and all this kind of stuff. And I'm probably a terrible owner for that part, because he would just go, I'm telling you, no collar, nothing. He would just let him run. And until he got a little bigger, and I caught him running in the road, and that's when I was like, all right, we're not doing that. And so I ended up having a collar for him that I would let him just roam the land, and he was chilling. Yeah, it was great. He was only maybe 1.5 whenever the bite happened, but he had a great run, though. I'll tell you that much. If I was a dog, like that'd have been a sick way to do it for sure.
Yeah.
Better than living in an apartment.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's that's tough, man. But so how long have you really been you got him in Nash, you got the dog in there?
I got him like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours south of town somewhere. I think it was called Somerville, something like that. But that was like August or September of 2021.
Yeah. So I know you've had like multiple places over here, and you've been moving around a bit.
Yeah, way too much. I hate moving.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
I've done it maybe 10 times since I've been in Nashville, since 2018. So like 10 times 5 years maybe.
Oh no.
Because COVID moved me.
Yeah.
All this stuff,
dude. Yeah, I mean, you see all the stuff in here, man. It would be horrible to have to move around too much.
But y'all got a spot right here, man.
Yeah,
this is great.
We're definitely trying to lock it down.
Especially because y'all are with homies who have the same vision.
Yeah.
Y'all are on the same page. That's big. That's important.
Yeah. So what was kind of the tipping point to make you move out here in the first place?
Ooh, good question. This is hilarious, but Gary V.
Yeah. No way. No way.
Yeah, I watched a Gary V video. This was kind of when I had first kind of been like, he came into my awareness. Yeah, it was just one of his speeches about just like, it's your one life, go do it, you know. And there was also one piece of content. There was a podcast I listened to. I believe it was the Bobby Cast. You know Bobby Bones. He's one of the biggest radio hosts in country music. He's a Nashville guy. He did a podcast. I believe it was him with a guy named Forrest. I want to say Whitehead. I'm not positive. He's a writer. He had some early cuts on some of the first Kelsey Ballerini stuff. He's a producer too. He's got a YouTube channel. I hope I said his name right, but he's if I understand correctly, from Shreveport, and you know, he was talking about his process writing some of those songs and stuff, and I just remember like getting to a point between seeing that and seeing some other stuff and feeling like, you know, I feel like I've grown as a musician and I can compete. I feel like I'm at least close enough to these people that like I can get my foot in the door and then grow. And I just got kind of fed up with, you know, I felt like I wasn't seeing any progress, you know, back home. And I've got such a pop sound. South Louisiana is not the place for it, you know? And I sometimes I hate that because I love it home so much, especially during the winter here. But the music industry is just here. And so I just was like, you know what? I got to get up and do it. I never have another chance. So I was maybe 20, I think I was 24, about to turn 25 when I got here. I moved, it was June of 2018. So a month before I turned 25. Yeah.
So you were kind of writing the pop stuff at home and stuff like that. Were you doing...
I was writing a lot of country at the time.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Were you doing any producing at home and like...
I was producing my own stuff. I produced some of Clay Cormier's earlier stuff.
Okay.
At that time. That was not long before or after I did the first, write this down, people, the first Justin Champagne song.
Yeah.
Champagne, excuse me.
Yeah.
Sun Goes Down.
Yeah.
I built that track for $300 flat. No back end or nothing. I did it. That must have been 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago now.
Wow.
But he's had a big pop, you know.
Yeah. He's
a perfect example of what good branding and marketing can do for you.
Right.
You know, Justin's a perfect example of what we were talking about earlier. I would say, and this isn't a dig at Justin, I have a lot of respect for his hustle. He's so good at what he's doing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider him country music proper, right? He's kind of country music adjacent.
Yeah.
But he's in a little bit more of a focused niche, I think, than country music, which feels a little bit more generic than what he does.
Yeah.
And he found who his audience was, and he just hit them and hit them and hit them and hit them nonstop. And he knows what they want to see. And he texted me one time, we were talking about marketing, and I was like, well, what are you doing that's working right now? He's like, bro, titties in the thumbnail. And it's hilarious, but it works. Now pause. That's not my brand.
Yeah, of course.
But he knows what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Justin. He's a hustler, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a hustler too, for sure.
Yeah. He's about his business. Yeah, that's super interesting. How have you you were talking about, you know, doing it for $300. How has kind of your business around producing changed?
I don't do anything that I'm not going to make future money on anymore. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Especially at Justin, working with Justin was a big part of that.
Yeah.
You know, just seeing what something can become.
Right.
And again, that's not a dig at him.
Right.
Most artists I work with can't do what he did.
Yeah.
Right. Most artists can't take something and put it that big, especially because if you ask me, that first song I did, I'm like, man, it sucks relative to what I feel capable of now.
You just didn't realize maybe you left the money on the table because you just, you know, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Just no foresight.
Yeah, right.
You know, just not thinking about it like that. Just thinking, oh, hey, here's a little money pop right here.
Yeah.
Let's make that money.
Yeah.
You know, and nothing wrong with doing it that way. A lot of the music business is done as a work for hire, especially for players, which is where I think I was not clear on what I wanted because I was a little bit in the middle ground between being a player and a producer.
Yeah.
So I do think it's important to understand like what your role is as what you do well, you know, for that reason.
Yeah. So you were releasing stuff out of your place. What was your like mastering process like, you know, sending stuff out, and how did you really get stuff from what you recorded in your place to sounding good for Spotify?
Well, before mastering, let's take it from the top. So the first thing is just recording good tracks, right?
Yeah.
Just not sounding like shit.
Yeah.
Which isn't easy.
Right.
I sound like shit all the time.
Yeah.
Don't listen to my raw tracks, right?
Right.
which most people don't understand what they're listening to when they hear that.
Mm-hmm.
For the people who are watching this, if you would hear what most tracks sound like before they're mixed,
Yeah.
you would think your favorite artist sucks.
Yeah, right.
You would think your favorite artist is probably trash,
Right.
unless they're just a powerhouse. But that's a big thing first, is just getting good tracks, having a good song, having a good arrangement,
Yeah.
having good tones,
Right.
etc. And then once everything's in there, editing is a huge piece of it. So the more
Sure.
pop you lean, the more you're going to probably need to wrench things in and lock them to the grid. You don't have as much space for things to feel loose.
Yeah.
And the tighter they are, the more like pristine and upfront it's going to sound. So good edits are a big part of that. And another part of that is vocal tuning.
Yeah.
It's everybody's least favorite topic about singing is vocal tuning. But another thing that people don't realize is that all of their favorite singers are using vocal tuning in the form of either auto tune or some form of, hand tuning,
Right.
etc. Hand tuning does sound a lot better. Auto tuning, if you will, is faster, and it also produces a little bit more of a pop sound because you get a little bit more of that unnatural pull of the note,
Right.
where it sounds what people would call the T-Pain effect.
Right.
I'm a big fan of using both of them.
Yeah.
Like a lot of other things, the way I produce, I think that more is better most of the time. I'm of that mind for the most part.
Yeah.
So in that realm, stacking tones is another one. People ask me about snares a lot on my music because I have big drum sounds. I learned this from Billy Decker, who I'll talk about in a second. There's like 5 snare sounds on the songs.
Yeah.
If you've got a snare that's tuned really hot and it just cracks,
Yeah.
and it carries in the room,
Yeah.
it's gonna sound great in the room. But in the close mics, you're going to lose a sense of low-end thump that you would have had if you'd have had a fat snare, right? And I kind of look at this as like, there's almost like a curve for snare drums where it's like the hotter tuning you get, the more you're going to get that aggressive attack.
Yeah.
But you're gonna shave off some of that body, right?
Yeah,
Whereas
right.
the fatter drums are going to sit on this side where you're going to have it's going to take up more space.
Yeah.
And even timing-wise, the snare will probably hang around a little bit longer, at least the snare itself, not necessarily how it's going to react in the room.
That's a tuning thing, or is it like per snare drum?
It's both.
Yeah.
Because some
Right.
snares are going to sound better tuned hot, some snares are going to sound better tuned fat.
Yeah.
And then there's also a middle ground for that too, right? And you're always kind of sacrificing how much aggression and punch do you want versus how much presence in the mix do you want? How bright or how dark is it going to sound? So what the geniuses of the 21st century decided is just put 5 fucking snare drums on it. Fat, mid, hot, put a synthwave snare on there for some extra whatever. And so that's really the way I do that now. I've got like a fat snare that just sounds pure probably, or sometimes I might use a more pop sound with that. A mid snare, which is always kind of my most dry sounding one, which sounds the most like a normal snare drum. And then a top end snare that just sounds like it's punching, like smacking the devil's ass or something like that. And, you put all 3 in there, and then that's how you get huge snare drums.
Yeah.
And picking good samples matters too.
Do you make your own drum samples?
Sometimes, but
Mostly
people
just
make
packs.
much better drum samples than I do, so it's
Sure.
just easier to work with their stuff.
Yeah.
This is such a big thing we could go into for days. But you were asking about mastering, so getting to the mix stage after all this stuff is done. I would love to be a great mixer. I am an okay mixer, and so I don't generally mix my own music, at least not for official releases.
Sure.
If you go on my Patreon, you'll hear a lot of my own mixes, and you'll hear why I'm not putting that out.
Sure.
But Billy Decker is a mix engineer here in town, and he's the man. So last, to my understanding, he had 17 number ones in country mixed. He's done some Sam Hunt mixes, Chris Young, Rodney Atkins, I believe. Huge stuff. But he's one of the most accessible high-end mixers I've ever come across. He takes independent projects. He's super nice guy. He's worth checking out, people. If you need mixes, if you need to learn more about mixes, etc. Billy Decker's your guy. Shout out. But Billy just can get the sound, man. From whether it's country, I've heard him mix heavy stuff, hardcore and metal.
Yeah.
He's a big drum sample guy, so he can get a super pure sound. Anything with that pop as well, he's great at that. So as long as I've been in town, I've been sending my mixes to him. And my philosophy on mastering is I've kind of gotten it from Billy, which is if the mix is right, you shouldn't have to master it.
Mm.
So for people who don't know, the
Sure,
idea of
right.
mastering is that, you know, I could mix a song on whatever speakers, but the second you bring them to another set of speakers, they're going to sound different, right? So mastering is taking the perspective of, I'm going to mix this song in a way that it sounds good on all the speakers, right? Which is a lot harder to do. But if your mix is done right and you know what you're going for, you don't necessarily have to do that. And then the other component of mastering would just be general loudness, per se.
Right.
How loud is your mix? And that's a lot less of a concern as it used to be, now that streaming platforms have put like ceilings on that, and they've started to regulate all of it, so you can get away with, even in some cases, more dynamic mixes. So I just have a mastering chain at the end of all of my mixes, and, you know, I run it through. I do a little bit of EQ shaving off top end and low end that you'll never hear, just to take out energy from hitting the compressors. I'll hit a compressor. I like to use the Kramer Pi compressor from Waves, which also I literally stole this mastering chain straight from Billy.
Yeah.
And then next is the magic button. It's called Sonic's Oxford Inflator. And the best way I know how to describe this is it boosts upper harmonics. So if you had bass and you used something like this, instead of it like taking the low end and boosting those frequencies, it would boost the ones that are like that are producing the tone of that low end, but that are actually existing higher. It's weird. It's a psychoacoustic effect.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
But it's just got a couple knobs, and it basically, the biggest payoff for it is that it makes it easier to hear low end frequencies on lesser speakers like your iPhone. So I'll use that, and then I'll finish off with an L3 limiter from Waves and just make sure everything's capped right there, not getting too loud.
You use this chain, but you send.
That's right. That's like for my stuff if I'm doing to mix something.
You send the stems, you know, raw to someone else.
For the most part. The only time I don't send something raw is if I have particular effects I want on it, in which case I'll print it on the track. Or if maybe I've got a note for, well, I guess that would still be raw anyway. So yeah, for the most part, I send things raw, although you do send them edited and tuned.
Yeah.
Right? Just no mixing plugins on them generally. I don't put compression on the tracks before I send them to the mixer to compress. Right? Or I really don't put reverb or delay. That's the worst unless you're committed on those sounds, you know?
Yeah.
And then what I would tell people maybe who are doing that sort of thing, if you're unsure, send dries and wet tracks, you know?
Sure. That's interesting. So how long were you producing really before you started like trying to do it commercially, or like?
That's a good question. I think it depends what you consider producing, because was I producing when I was 12, just starting to write and like, because early on I was trying to figure out ways to record. So the way I got started was, after I started writing songs, maybe at about 12, I remember that we had a little computer mic. It was so weird looking. It was like a little skinny mic, and it sat on like a bass, and it just like pointed out. It almost looked like when somebody sits what are those, like a incense when it sits on the thing, you know, it almost looked like that.
Right.
And we had Windows Movie Maker on there.
Oh yeah.
And you could only record one track. There was no multi-tracks on it.
Wow.
And so I was like, dang it, how am I going to record? You know, I can't play two instruments at once. How am I going to build a multi-track? And so I'd go play the drums and record it. And then I would try to play back the drums in the speakers in the room. And then record playing the guitar along with what was coming out. And it sounded like trash.
Right.
And then we got, not long after that, this Boss multi-track like hardware system. And I got a little bit more into that, and I was building stuff. And that was about 12 or 13 when I was starting to do that.
Wow.
And it all sounded like trash, you know. It was a big learning process. And then the first time I did a record, if you will, I did a record for my band Arabella back in, we were a hardcore band when I was maybe 15.
Sure.
I don't know if you would know any of the boys in that band. Bradley might. Bradley, do you know? You'd probably know Dylan LeBlanc. He's a drummer. That's my homie. That's my boy. Him, Alex Voorhees, who is known later on as Jesse Slater. He was a big DJ for a little while. There was another boy, Jude Landry, who played bass in that band with us. And then Chase. I can't remember Chase's last name off the top of my head. I haven't seen him in years.
Sure.
Chase, if you're alive, reach out to me. Be good to hear from you. Valadez. Valadez was his last name. But yeah, so I produced a record for us on GarageBand.
Nice.
Because my mom had gotten a Mac like maybe that year or the year before. and it sounded like trash,
Yeah.
but I was getting better. And then I think the first time I did a recording for anybody else that like got released might have been Justin Champagne.
Yeah.
There was a lot of projects in between there,
Mm-hmm.
demos, tracks, whatever, but that was kind of my first commissioned, piece of work that I did.
Mm.
Yeah. So that would have been maybe 2000. Well, I don't even know. Maybe 2015 or 16, maybe. I feel like I'm gonna spill this. You're doing a great job. I'm surprised you know all these questions without like having a notebook or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless Bradley's whispering in your ears over there.
No, man.
That'd be kind of sick.
No, I try and do a little bit of prep, but I also just try and like stay present.
Totally.
And try and just like be
Run
genuinely
with
curious about what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, this is great. No, I'm loving this.
Awesome,
Keep
man.
going. I can go on for hours about this,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, man, I think that's just super interesting because like I never thought that I would have to become savvy in this production stuff. I thought I could just be a guitar player, and like slowly it became a rabbit hole of like, oh, like
Yes.
now I'm like, now I got to learn about gain staging. I got to learn
Right.
about this and that. I got to learn all these different things, and slowly I'm like building an arsenal of gear to try and like produce from the house and produce myself and try and put myself out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not see this coming at all, but it kind of seems like you were starting this really young, really getting into it. Like,
Yeah. Although I'm not always proud of that because, you always look back and you're like, damn, like, how could I have spent that time better?
oh,
And,
Yeah.
and pushed harder?
right.
Because I'll be honest with you, like,
I know what you mean.
I feel like a lot of the gains I got musically were never, this is a good and a bad thing, but were never like putting the time in, quote unquote. It was more of just like, I just want to sit down and do this thing.
Yeah.
Right. So, right. I probably could surpass myself if I had just dedicated hours and hours and hours. And I did in a lot of ways, but to me, it was always more natural just wanting to do it,
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. I forgot what the question was initially. I got
No,
sidetracked.
I guess there wasn't really a question. I was just kind of taking note of like this being something you were interested from a long time.
Yeah. Oh, but you know what I did want to say about, you were talking about how you never expected
Right.
to be, producing your own music. And I'd imagine hosting the podcast, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's the new music industry.
Right.
And it used to be a game where you could show up and do your thing and do that thing and don't do anything else.
Right.
And it's just different now. And there's a beauty to it because it's like nobody can stop you now.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also an ugly side of it, which is like you're going to live and die by that sword, So I think balance is important in that. I still haven't found it.
Yeah, it's I'm definitely not niched down all the way yet. I'm trying to hone it in. I'm feeling like my priorities are going to be like internet presence with the podcast and with content, and then like original music and learning covers for sustainability. And maybe that is niche enough, but like it seems hard to wear all the hats sometimes. It's like
It is. I do think the more you can, the more that you can outsource,
yeah,
the better.
yeah,
That's just one reason that I outsource mixing because I could do it, but I'd also spend a month trying to get it exactly right.
right,
Or I could just, pay out, have somebody do it, and it's back in a day.
yeah,
And it's right.
mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I do think there's a level of like, don't take on everything.
right,
Don't try to do it all. Don't try to drive the bus and sleep at the same time.
yeah,
You got to rest before the gig. You have to remember that. You can't think that you can do all, because I've tried this, by the way, not sleeping while I was driving, but like,
yeah,
doing a turn and burn and saying like, oh, you know what? We got to get from this city to the next one. I'll just go ahead and commit to making the drive.
yeah,
And then I get to the next town and I'm so tired that I just suck on stage the next night,
yeah.
So you have to think about that.
Who were you touring with, really?
Most of that was just on my own tour, or if you will.
Yeah, your own
Wouldn't-
band.
Yeah.
But y'all were doing original music, or
At the time, we were doing a lot of covers. We were playing my own stuff too.
oh yeah.
But the gigs were primarily on the back of
So where do you book cover gigs, really, like outside, of Broadway?
We used to go to the Midwest a lot, and shout out Fargo, North Dakota, to the Windbreak. I would go there like 3 or 4 times a year. And there's Grand Forks as well out in North Dakota. I had an agent out of North Minnesota for a while, who put me all over that upper Midwest. We'd go to Chicago a lot. Went down to Savannah, Georgia, stuff like that. It was mostly bar gigs, kind of the Cowboys-esque kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe less country themed a lot of the time, sometimes just as much. But I took a big step back from that stuff because I was like, why am I spending my weekends playing Luke Bryan songs?
Right.
Yeah. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Big love to Luke Bryan.
Yeah.
Great song. He's got some cool songs,
Yeah.
But that's just, I want to play Johnny Cochran songs.
Yeah, there's a ceiling,
Yeah.
obviously, to that, and there's a longer term investment that you're trying to go
Exactly.
for.
Yeah, and so I'm in the growing pains version of that part right now. Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of projects you working on right now? Like, you've got like an album, or are you kind of trying to angle more towards just like a catalog period?
Both, and catalog, I think, is the biggest overlooked part of musicians making a living.
Sure.
So I would take, most days I would take a handful of songs with medium amount of streams over one song with a bunch, just because, well, I take that back. If you got a mega hit, I'm taking the one.
Yeah.
But
right.
that's 0.001% of the industry, right?
Sure.
I'm not counting on writing the next Happy by Pharrell.
Sure.
You have to, I think that having a large catalog is one of the easiest ways to start making more money. And I've actually seen that with on my distributor account stuff, is that just putting out more songs and putting out more and more, it compounds. When somebody finds the new song, they can actually find the one before it as well. And so you're just bringing more and more in. Building catalog is so huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find most of your stuff is co-written, or like mostly on your own?
I had such a complex about co-writing for the longest time.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that was because this is years ago, but I never had great co-writers around me.
Sure.
With maybe of the exception of when I would play in bands, there was always other great musicians around me. I never was around a lot of great songwriters per se.
Yeah.
I've gotten around a lot more of them now. Some of them I like writing with, some of them I don't. But I can have a control complex sometimes in the music,
right.
especially because I came up, like you're saying, kind of trying to do it all.
Right.
But I do find that I do, generally speaking, write better songs with a good co-writer. So I've been doing more of that now. I do maybe 3 a week like that, and then I'll try to maybe write one or more on my own in the meantime. And then in terms of building tracks, generally what I do is I'll have a track kind of ready even almost before I write sometimes to have us a vibe or something, especially because I think with my music, like the music is so much more of the imprint than necessarily just the lyrics or vocals. I think a lot of artists are more lyric and vocal in that way, and that can be a plus for a lot of reasons, but I find that I can't really achieve my sound if I'm not very intentional with how the tracks sound.
Yeah. What are kind of some of like the different feelings you can get and take away from the different writing sessions you can get that kind of lead you to think that was a good or bad writing session?
Well,
I mean, do you always know when it was a good writing session, or maybe sometimes you release something that was better than you thought, or you typically like know when the vibe is good and like that's when the best stuff comes?
Well, this is kind of two questions the way I'm thinking about it. So like, the vibe is the easier part to determine, if you will.
Yeah.
Right? Did you have a good time? Did you have fun?
Yeah.
And then there's just, did you write a good song?
Yeah.
But I think for me, what I've kind of come to is that process is more important. So just doing it. Right. Some days it sucks. Some days it doesn't. As long as you don't hate the person you're writing with. Now there are people who I'm like, I don't want to write with you again.
Yeah.
It's just not fun. Or we don't jive, or we're not meeting in the middle.
So yeah, talk more about like what kind of happened in those interactions that made it so unenjoyable.
I don't have a ton of negative experiences like that. The one I can think of was one of the like larger writes I ever did was there was a total of 4 of us, and we wrote a song, and I just like, none of my ideas were cutting through for them for whatever reason.
Yeah,
and that's fine. We got to the end of the write, and they immediately were like, "Are you going to build us a track?"
Yeah,
and I was just kind of like, "Is that all I'm here for?"
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a thing. That's a role. It is.
Right.
And I usually take on the track guy role anyway. But in that particular one, I was like, it doesn't feel like my song. Right. I ended up making the track anyway. It came out cool. And it does feel like my song if anybody releases it and they're going to write checks.
Right.
That's
yeah.
my song.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think it's important to feel like you have a voice in the room.
Yeah.
So there's been a handful of rooms where I didn't feel that way.
Mm.
And sometimes it's just because, again, like you're just not a good match with people.
Mm.
Maybe, I found early on when I was writing a lot of country that like I like Eric Church, but I don't write like him. And so if an artist was a very like impressed on by Eric Church, if that was a big thing for them, they wanted to write like that, it was generally never a good fit.
Mm.
Whereas like if they wanted to write a Kelsey Ballerini, esque tune, I was all over it. Like, this is great. This is right up my alley. And shout out to Lexi Rose. She's got a song called Title. Look it up. Title by Lexi Rose. She had a nice pop on TikTok with this song. I produced it and wrote it with her. And it's very much in that kind of Kelsey realm. And that's just kind of what works for me. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, and I think I sympathize with that feeling of like control and that kind of setting me back from really like building that catalog and co-writing and really getting out of my own way and just
yeah. You said it a handful. You said so much with that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and so bad do I need to build this catalog and start getting it going and try and get the original stuff out so we can get on the
Don't
road.
rush it though necessarily. You're how old?
23.
Music industry moves slow, and you're very young.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm 7 years older than you.
Yeah.
I feel that urgency very hard. And then I remember that Walker Hayes blew up on TikTok doing dances in his 40s. You realize this? He's singing about Applebee's on date night.
Yeah, right.
In his 40s.
Right.
You got time. Get the music right first.
Yeah.
And then here's what's nice. Be intentional on that front end, and you're going to start getting good stuff faster. That's what I've learned. I always wanted to be there is a fine line because I always wanted to over analyze everything before I put it out. You have to cut it off somewhere. But as you're getting used to letting it fly and fly more, they just the tap water runs cleaner.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard the analogy that Ed Sheeran makes about like writing songs is like turning on the water. It's got a dirty tap. It's gonna have some dirt and shit come out at first, but if you run it long enough, it'll clean out and you'll find good stuff. So I think that's a big component.
That's very interesting.
So I would say, yeah, don't rush it necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely set yourself deadlines and think about when you want to have things out. Don't take too long. But make good stuff, man. Like make something you like. So many people want to tell you should or shouldn't do this. You should do it another way. It's all art. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Like, you know what else is art? Borat, bro.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. It's going to be okay if you write a cheeky song about chasing girls, or if you write a whatever. Like, everybody wants to harp on, this sucks, or this is good, or this is bad, or this is what really should be popular. That's the big one you hear from people. Or the one that really grinds my gears when I see it on Facebook is like, it'll be some post from like a magazine about some artist, and then there's going to be some, for lack of a better term, boomer, who's going to be on there and be like, well, I've never heard of him. And you're like, bro, you're bragging about living under a rock.
Yeah.
You're actually like, you're alluding to your sense of ignorance, and you're bragging about it.
Yeah.
And that's just always been so crazy to me. And just like, I think that there's like a tendency, particularly in America, for people to look at the art and feel like it's like, oh, this is a meta spiritual experience. This music saves people's lives.
Right.
And I do think that's a thing for people. But I don't think it's necessarily the artist or the music that's doing it as much as it is that people feel a connection to other people through that.
Right.
And that is important. I think that's the role we play.
Yeah.
But I don't think that we have to write the next Star Spangled Banner to get there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, for all you know, what does the fox say is making people smile?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do think that, like, one thing that I would tell myself looking back is also don't take it so seriously. Like, for starters, Jonathan, you're not that cool, but you're also not that lame either, right? Just sit somewhere in the middle, do good work, move along with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we put a lot of pressures on ourselves, and I definitely put a lot of pressure on myself to have all my shit together and like know exactly what I'm trying to do and trying to make.
Well, it looks like y'all got shit together. Y'all got a good vibe in here, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
you got your own personal assistant over here. I need me one of those.
Yeah, man.
He even plays the drums, dude.
It's like a little commune in here, man. I help him with some drum videos. He helps me with the podcast.
That's great.
It's a good.
That's good. That's the outsourcing that you want to be doing because it doesn't cost money.
Yeah,
you just traded a little bit of time.
Yeah,
that's the way to do it
for sure. Yeah, we're all helping each other with the content out here, but Yeah, it's coming together, man. I got a long list of people I'm trying to get on here and just trying to invest in the internet and trying to invest
Yes,
in
that's
that,
the game.
you know, and invest in people knowing me more personally and knowing like the kind of people I'm meeting in the journey. It's like I was doing the Justin gig and doing all these
Really?
crazy shows and
Justin Champagne?
yeah,
You're playing for him?
yeah. Me and
Nice.
Brad,
I knew Bradley did.
we met playing with Justin, and I learned a lot doing that. And we just kind of did some crazy things. And I was doing crazy things with these Zydeco bands back home, and I just realized I know some incredible people. Like, I'd
Yeah.
love to kind of put these conversations out because, you know, there's kind of a shortage of I think genuine conversations, you know, and especially with people from Louisiana, you know. Like when I started this back home before we moved out here, and there's some people living some really unbelievable lives that are not mainstream famous or,
Totally.
you know,
It's better that way.
you're right.
That's what people don't
Yeah,
realize.
right.
You don't want to be recognized at Publix.
Yeah,
You want to get your groceries and go home.
yeah,
You want to be recognized at the music festival
yeah,
or maybe at the bar,
yeah,
you know? But,
yeah.
you know, imagine being a Morgan Wallen and just taking a walk down Broadway.
Yeah, right.
Could you do it?
Yeah, no.
No way.
Yeah,
I stay home and even nobody wants to talk to me.
that's true.
And I still don't want to go somewhere like that.
Yeah.
Imagine, and granted, I'm sure if people are excited to see you, probably will get you out the house. But like at the same time, on that scale,
Right.
it just can't be fun anymore.
Yeah, I think that does scare me. You know, it's like I really would, you know, ideally love to just make the living and not have anyone know who I was and keep anonymity. But I think this is like kind of a step towards just, you know, building a brand and trying to do whatever I can, just trying my best. And like, yeah, I still feel like I'm figuring it out. But if this in any way helps my original music go
Totally.
bigger, then I guess I'm gonna go for it.
But also, like, it's something else that's just worth doing if you enjoy it too. At
Yeah,
the same
that's true.
time, you know, it's just another component of you as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love conversations, man. I love
I love conversations, bro.
I do. I love
Conversations are so sick.
Man, because
I love when I see somebody at the bar and we're just having a conversation.
you know what, I don't love that. See, like I love, I guess, conversations with specific people and certain people who like
Yeah.
you know have a
Who I
higher
want to talk to.
have a higher level of conversation and just not like, you know, whether the sports or like whatever.
Sure.
I don't know. I'm not a big sports
You
guy.
you don't like small talk, it sounds like.
No, not really.
I'm not great at it. I need to
Yeah.
get better at it. I've
Yeah.
resented it for a long time,
Yeah.
but I think I'm like, it's a skill I need to develop.
Nashville's getting me better at it for sure. It's
Yeah.
getting me out my shell.
Yeah, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
What so are there any like what's your favorite bars in town or anything like that so far?
I love Roberts.
Okay.
I love Flamingo.
Flamingo's sick.
I love Flamingo.
Yeah. Flamingo's cool. I like that. It's got like a soft Miami vibe.
Yeah.
That's always been
Yes.
kind of my thing. I like the neons and the
Yeah.
you know, the moody kind of dark thing and all that.
Yeah.
That's very up my
I
alley.
love Flamingo, dude.
Yeah,
I love
it's a cool bar.
I love Inglewood. I've only
Mhm.
been once, but it was a sick jam.
Yeah.
Trying to think where else.
What about food?
Oh man.
Oh yeah, Bourbon Street Blues and
Boogie.
Boogie is good too.
Yeah, yeah.
Y'all probably see some of my friends over there if y'all go.
Every Monday.
Have y'all met Bowen Robertson? He's a drummer. That's my boy. He's played
Oh,
my
wow.
gig a bunch.
Oh wow.
That's my homie. That dude's a goofball, bro. Really? Yeah, that's my boy. He's the one who got me into the Meinl stuff. He was playing those for a while. Yeah. Oh, okay. Really? Yeah. No. Bowen. Ask him if he knows Johnny Cochran. Me and him we got some stories. We've had some good times. Him. You may run into a guy named Mike Sweep. He just came back to town. He's been out on a cruise gig for a while, but he's a keys player, kind of short dude. He's black. He's fucking crazy good player. And he's another one I've been on the road a bunch with and just had a great time. Shout out to Mike Sweep. That's my boy. Yeah, but I got some buddies that go out there. Bourbon Street is a cool bar.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm liking Printer's Alley. We just got our first gig in April at the Fedora Lounge.
Okay.
Which is like a new spot, and we're stoked on it. But it's interesting actually. We got the gig because we were busking on printers, and the owners dropped their card in our
Nice.
in our thing, and you know, so
That's
pretty
great.
cool. But I mean, I'm still trying to make the most of the time leading up to that because it's still far out. It's like Still need more than that. We just have one weekend booked, but we're excited about it.
Booking, in my opinion, is one of my least favorite parts about being a musician.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it's relationship maintenance.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of turnover, personnel,
Yeah.
things like that. I've always done better to have somebody booking for me, you know?
Yeah.
I am self-booking right now, but if you can get an agent, tell him yes, if he's good. You know, not anybody though. You can get bad ones. I had a bad agent when I first came to town.
Oh, what's that like?
I'll stay out of it too much because I don't want to smear, you
Sure,
know.
yeah,
But
sure.
this person just did a good job at first, although the payment structure was weird. Instead of it being I book, you make the money, you pay me out a percent. This person did you pay me upfront retainer fee, and then I book you out that much work. The problem with doing it that way is there's no given amount of time they have to fulfill that booking retainer.
Yeah.
So there's no urgency. They've got my money, and I don't have shows.
Yeah.
So did that for a while, and it was fine at first. Over time, it started to get a little sketchier. So I parted ways with that person, and that's when Bitzer, Gary Bitzer is his name, came out, and I connected with him, the guy I was saying that was in North Minnesota. I met him when I was playing in the Fargo, North Dakota bars. He was connected with those bars, and whenever I reached back out just to go book there altogether, he was like, "Oh, are you independent now?" As far as no representation booking, I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Come jump on me." And Bitzer was great, bro. I never saw that much money playing music as I saw with this guy. He had it. He had the connections. He just almost had the monopoly on that area, if you will. And unbeknownst to me, the North Midwest is probably the best place in the States to play cover music if you want to make money. If you want to make money, bro, don't play in the South. Don't do it. You can play cool gigs. You might play at Floribama, but I won't get into all the details. I don't want to. Again, I like Floribama. Had a good experience there. I do like those people, but I'm just say that just to say that they will take very good care of you in the Midwest.
Right.
Yeah, they like country music a lot out there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I would love to have a team, honestly, but in time.
Yeah, it's all a process.
In time. Yeah. So you're trying to do the artist thing. That's kind of your focus now.
Yeah.
What you were talking kind of earlier before we put the headphones on, but like what's kind of your next future plan?
What do you like related to the music? I mean, I guess is what you're saying. Like
How do you kind of see your how are you gonna try and build some momentum around your artists?
Okay, yeah. The first thing I'm trying to do right now, I've done singles as long as I've been releasing music, and I do have one EP, but I released it as singles, and then there was one more song left, and I dropped the EP with that.
Okay. Do you have to re-release as the EP, or is it like how?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
If I understand your question correctly, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I get what you're saying. Yeah. So like, I had the singles out, and then I re-uploaded. If that makes sense. Yeah. Now, to do it correct, if you have the same master, you need the same ISRC and all that.
Yeah.
Excuse me. This coffee's getting to me. Hopefully I don't have to exit the room in a second here. Yeah, but if you have a different master, obviously it would get a different one. And these, the streamers have back-end algorithms to match songs like that. Although you will get payment breakdowns if you have a good distributor per upload of the song. So like I can see my song Kiss Too Good, how much it's earned as a single and how much it's earned as an album cut.
So that's interesting. If it has the same ISRC, the platform might actually just like automatically categorize that already released single with the.
Yes, and what's nice about that is that it'll combine your stream counts.
Oh, okay.
Unless, well, okay, if I had
if
I had the same master on a single and on the record, and that song was say number 1 on Spotify, the stream count should show everything. If the master was different, it might not necessarily.
Right.
But yeah, when you have versions, it should do that.
Oh wow.
So like my song Cutting Up, I've got a jokey version called Cutting Up 2.0, which is the same exact thing, except when it gets in the guitar solo, instead of it being like a screaming rock solo, I just start chicken picking.
Yeah.
And it's really goofy, but it combines all of those streams whenever it shows me that. So that song basically,
Dude, let's talk about guitar, man. You're like crazy.
I don't know
crazy
anything
killer.
about guitar.
Bro, you're killer.
I don't know
You're
what a guitar
killer
is, bro.
guitar.
Thank you.
Your acoustic arrangements for that gig we did together were like, I was like, dude, you're
Thanks,
doing
dude.
a whole bunch.
Yeah, probably too much, honestly, because nobody cares about how much you can shred an acoustic guitar. I don't. I mean, sometimes I will say I do see some people. If you can cook
Yeah.
on acoustic guitar, yeah. Right.
Billy
But even
Strings.
then, personally, I can't stay in it for too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I've never been into long guitar solos.
Mm.
If you listen to my music, it's all like 4 bars.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
This is something else. A lot of people, everybody thinks I'm going to be a huge John Mayer fan. I
Yeah.
like him,
Oh, yeah.
but
Oh,
I'm
no.
not like,
Really?
I'm not all hail, you know?
You're right.
I think he's great. He's one of the best we've got out there.
Yeah.
But I like vocal music more than guitar music ultimately,
Right.
which sometimes I'm like, shit,
Mm.
what I spend all my fucking time learning how to play guitar for.
Right.
But but
exactly.
yeah, I like short solos,
Yeah.
and I do prefer electric over acoustic.
Mm-hmm.
Acoustic gigs get a little boring to me. I
Sure.
can't. I'm gonna blaspheme Nashville for a second here, but I'm gonna go on record and say that I hate writers' rounds, and I can't listen to another trust fund baby
Yeah.
play a $5,000 Gibson capoed on the 13th fret playing G shapes any longer. I'm tired of it. I am, and you know
Yeah.
what? Get that hustle, people. Do your
Yeah.
thing. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
I feel like a new man now that said that.
Aired that out. Got
Put
that
that
off
out
your
there.
chest. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna have to get Brad a mic. I don't know why I haven't gotten
I was
him a
just
mic.
thinking about that. You should.
I don't know why I haven't
You
gotten
got
him
that
on
one or this one even.
I've got some mics.
Yeah, you could just set him up a little talk back right there.
Yeah.
You should call him Young Bradley.
Young Bradley.
That'd
Yeah.
be good. Yeah, so back to I do want to talk more about guitar. Yeah, what are you playing anything cool right now? Like what is there any gear you're excited about, or
I mean,
you got that Les Paul staring at me over there?
oh yeah, it's pretty.
I like the flame top.
Yeah.
It's nice.
It's a work machine, man. It's great. It's got split coils. It's got
Yeah, it's great.
Active boost thing. It's sick. I can get so many sounds out of it.
Active boost. So like you have a knob that you can boost volume with,
it's like another push.
but it's a volume boost.
Yeah, it's like a drive boost, like a
Well, it's a volume boost is
Right,
what
yeah.
it is.
Yeah,
It just
right.
is going to come to your chain
For
with
sure.
extra gain, right?
for sure.
Yeah, that's great.
For sure.
I wasn't familiar with that. I'm not. One thing about me is I'm not super tech
Yeah.
on guitars, like tech
Yeah.
savvy on it. I've always just been like, do I look at it? Does it inspire me?
Yeah.
How do I feel with it in my hands?
Yeah.
I like the spiritual approach, if you will.
Yeah.
It's a very
100.
ignorant approach, but
No, I mean,
it feels
valid.
good.
Valid, man. You need a guitar that inspires you to pick it
I
up.
agree because I play guitars different depending on how they look.
At-
I do. If you give me a Strat, I'm gonna
Yeah.
play it different than I'm gonna play the Les Paul.
Right.
I'm gonna.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that until I bought a Strat because I used to think Strats are for blues players, and I used to not have that type of chops.
Right.
I got one. I was like, I'm gonna learn how to play this a little bit more,
Yeah.
and I play different because of it.
Yeah.
And then I pick up a Les Paul, and I'm probably gonna play more chunky.
Yeah. Well, I think tone has a lot to do with it too. And
Yes, I
guitars
agree.
obviously have different tones, and like, the way the strings are responding to my fingers and the way that the sound is hitting me, like I'll either identify more or less with that, and like what I end up playing is definitely going to be influenced by, the feeling that the actual
Yeah.
vibrations are giving me. But this, this Les Paul, it's great, man. I was gonna say something about it. It just, man, I feel like I'm kind of not plateauing, but like I'm definitely running in the same circles. I feel so. I've definitely been going out, listening to some guys out in the town, and
That helps,
That's
yeah.
kind of been helping. And man, we listened to this band, Mr. Mayo. These new guys, some Berkeley guys, and they're doing this fusion jazz stuff, and
Okay.
it's definitely opening my ears up a little bit more.
I got a guy for you to check out.
Oh,
His name, I
absolutely.
might have told you about him. His name is Trevor McKay.
Mm,
He plays for my buddy Skylar Anderson.
mm.
I'm not sure where they're playing right now. I think Trevor's also played with, what's the guy that sang that song Rock On?
Mm.
He's a Tucker Bethard. He played for him a little bit. I don't know if he was like a steady player or if he did a fill. But Trevor is my favorite guitar player in Nashville. It's kind of neo soul churchy,
Mm.
but it's very articulate
Mm.
and it's intentional. but it's technical too.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's like feel technical. It's not like metal technical where it's just notes and it's
Yeah.
straight.
Yeah.
You know how metals just can be very just dot 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 like on the grid.
Yeah.
No. It's swaggy. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's very lyrical
Yeah.
and vocal sounding.
Yeah.
But he's got a good understanding of like voice leading and jazz voicings, etc. But he's one of the best I've seen at having a jazz vocabulary without making me feel like I'm listening to jazz.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Right.
That's the thing, because I've never been a jazz proper guy.
It's not too out of
You know what kind of
context.
jazz I like? I like smooth jazz.
Yeah.
Put that on the internet
Yeah.
and let them come after me.
Yeah.
I love smooth jazz. The purists will tell you it's not real jazz. I don't care. I like whatever it is.
It's like it's not jazz if it's not confusing.
Right.
and
If I understand what it is, it must be.
yeah,
you know,
yeah, it must not be jazz.
yeah.
It must be complex blues.
But yeah, check out Trevor McKay. He's my favorite player in town. Shout out Trevor. He's a great plair. I'll have to see when they're playing. We could all go or something.
that'd be
I could
great.
introduce you to him.
That'd be so sick.
Yeah. What kind of amp are you playing these days? Or are you in digital effects right now?
I'm big into my Tone Master. I got a twin reverb Tone Master.
Okay.
I'm loving it, dude. Some people obviously it's not gonna do the tube thing exactly, but like,
Oh, so it's a modeling amp.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a solid state. It's a solid
They're
state.
getting a lot better.
Man, it is so good, and like, I've repaired too many tubes and too many amps to like,
Want to deal with it.
be too purist, because man, this amp is kick ass, and it's got the variable wattage, so I can bring it anywhere. It's light. It's like half the weight of a real tube amp.
Have you seen the new Fender floor model?
I have seen that.
It looks great.
Yeah, it looks great. Look, it's smaller than the Helix. It's
I was gonna lean toward one because I've been intent on getting into the full in on the digital game pretty soon here.
yeah.
But quad cortex is still gonna win out for me, just on the basis of having 4 channels. Are you familiar with this?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so quad cortex has you can run 4 channels at once, meaning you could have two stereo guitar setups if you wanted.
Oh yeah.
Or you could even what I like about it is, let's say that I'm going to hire a band, right? I got guys coming in who've never played my gig before.
Yeah.
I could set up all of my MIDI patch changes on the backing tracks
Yeah.
and have it send MIDI changes to the quad cortex for 4 separate channels. So I could have my guitar changes done. I don't have to touch a pedal the whole time. I could have all the bass changes done. I could have the other guitar player. I could even have a 4th channel. Maybe I'm stereo, or maybe there's
Keyboard
maybe
player.
or maybe even vocal effects or something like that. Anything like that.
Whoa.
Run them separate.
Yeah.
And you can do that all at once, trigger all the changes, and run your whole show like that. I could tell guys, don't even show up with a guitar. I want you to play my guitar so I know the tone is exactly what I want with it, because I've already pre-processed all of this. I just want you to learn the parts.
Yeah.
Don't worry about tones.
Yeah.
Learn your parts and come show up.
Wow.
How much time does that save them? How much more comfortable am I going to feel like the show's getting played right? That's a big selling point on that for me.
They would love that too if they would love that too if like they don't have to bring their own gear and potentially get like road wear on their stuff.
Totally.
But like,
and you could do that from one quad cortex.
yeah.
It's not like you got to go buy multiples. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the big selling point there for me.
That's super interesting. So how much have you done with backing tracks live and like?
Ooh, I've done a lot.
Yeah.
Backing tracks they're so much work,
Yeah.
but when they're right, it's so good.
Yeah.
Especially with my type of sound. I had a cool setup when I was gigging, the Midwest and stuff. I had backing tracks for like a 4-hour gig of covers.
Whoa.
Like I built all of them, and it was a ton of work, but it was
Holy
great.
cow.
And I ran the tracks, so I had a MIDI pedal board on my pedal board, and I had an iPad on there as well, and I would mirror the display from the computer up to the iPad right there, so I could see it the whole time.
I'm getting stressed out
So
here.
no, it was great. It was like getting there was tough.
Yeah.
But when it was running, it was so smooth. And I could see my whole set list right there, so I don't need like set list paper.
Right.
And then I could actually write markers into each section of the song. And then when we play a song, let's say we get to the bridge and I want to vamp with the band, I can hit like an impromptu cycle.
Yeah.
And it'll sit in that section marker as long as I want till it tells me not to.
Yeah.
So if we're vamping and I want to talk to the crowd, we're doing it. We're still on tracks. Click's running. It's playing back whatever we need auxiliary. And then the second I'm ready, I'll hit that cycle and it'll run straight through that marker and go through the rest of the song. And so now what was nice about that is I could do that on the fly. If I was doing it in Ableton, I would have had to pre-program where I want those cycles to exist.
Right.
Whereas in Mainstage, there was a way to just do it right there. And so that was nice in a 4-hour or 3-4 hour cover gig where you don't know when you're going to do certain things. Your song list is going to switch up a lot. I could just roll through stuff all in any direction or whatever and call those things on the fly. It was great.
I mean, there should be a way to do that in Ableton, but I'm sure it all depends how you've really like built the whole rig and machine.
My understanding is, again, you can do it, but they don't have a cycle on the fly feature where you could map that to a MIDI button.
Yeah.
So you could theoretically do it if you're clicking in the window. Right. But I'm playing lead guitar and trying to, right? Yeah. So that part was hard. That was one thing. The biggest reason I stopped doing it is because I was looking down too much. Trying to front the band. Yeah. Right? Now, if I'd have been the guitar player and didn't matter, probably would have kept doing it that way. But yeah, that's actually when I downsized to a mini pedal board with like 4 pedals on it. And I had a wireless that doubled as a tuner. I had a Keeley, what's it called? A tone workstation, which is, it's got 3 lines. It's a compressor, drive, and then a drive/boost, so you can do it clean or with drive. And then I had a drop, Digitech drop, in case I wanted to play a different key, and I wanted different shapes. And then the last one was a Keeley delay workstation, which was another 3-button small one like that, and it was tap, delay, reverb. So I had all that on a pedal board about this big, and it just was nice because it took me out of the frame of thinking about tones and effects all the time while I'm trying to sing and talk to the audience, etc.
Yeah. Dude, I love backing stuff, man. I get kind of nerded out with it. 'Cause when we were doing the Justin stuff, that's when I really had to like dive into like learning about it because no one else really.
Were you running the tracks for that game?
Well, by the end of our time together, I built this playback rig, and you know, we'd had like no one manning the playback. It was just like on stage, like so it was
what?
Because we were on rails too. We had Bradley hitting a MIDI controller.
That's brave, bro.
We had Bradley.
Y'all just would press play and run on the stage and start playing? Was it the whole, like, it was one track the whole? Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I get why that works, but yeah, that's brave, bro.
By the end of it, we had individual tracks and Bradley queuing with MIDI.
Yeah, that's great.
But
damn.
Yeah,
y'all was raw dogging it, bro.
Bro, I mean,
hard.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, we played, we opened for Snoop in this arena.
Yeah.
We're playing with like a mono. We're playing with a mono.
It was a mono track.
A mono backing track.
Really? Well, so it was just a 2-track split. It was an LR with a click to the left and then the tracks to the right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
old school, bro. That's how we used to do it. Of course, we didn't have the whole thing on one track, the whole show on one track. We would usually do it with a bunch of them, but that's how you used to do it. You just have them like in Finder.
Right.
On the Mac or something, and you just have like a folder with all of them, and you just hit the space bar, cue it up, and roll, and then when you're ready, press down, press space bar again, and roll it. Yeah.
But I mean, like that's kind of why I ended up diving into it because I was like, we can do better. I think when we're playing to this many people, and maybe hopefully have a.
Yeah, my sphincter would have been so tight on that stage, bro. You just hit play and run on. Damn.
Yeah,
because like I said, I'm a control freak, bro.
Yeah.
If it wasn't obvious enough that I was fronting, playing guitar, and running the tracks at once, so if somebody was like, hit that play button and run on there, I'd have been like, oh my goodness, that would stress me out.
Yeah, dude, and back with the mono tracks, like we didn't have redundancy or anything like that, so we actually had the tracks skip on us in front of way too many people, and it was just like
tracks never want to skip until you need them to not, right?
Yeah,
isn't that how it works?
Did you have a redundancy system or anything like that?
I've never had that. It'd be nice to, but I'm a musician, bro.
Yeah,
you think I got enough money for a redundant system?
I hear you.
I need strings, dude. I need gas.
I hear you, man. But I guess that is kind of what like scares me about relying on tracks at all. It's just the more technology you have, the more
it takes to pull it off. Yeah.
Yeah, if a computer goes down, it's like, I mean, you'd hate to say like if I'm a musician, I want to be good enough to provide music for people regardless of if a computer goes down.
Well, pause, but that's where you have an upper hand over almost 99% of artists because you got a guitar in your hand,
Yeah.
right? And so if all else fails,
Yeah.
and the band stops playing,
Yeah.
you sit there and you improvise the rest of whatever you're doing. And I tell you what, I've been in that scenario and it works.
Yeah.
You just got to commit to it and don't you got to save face.
Mm-hmm.
Commit, don't show anybody that nothing's wrong. Half the
Yeah.
people will think that's the way the song is supposed to go,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just got to do that
Yeah.
to make show must go on. But yeah, if you got the guitar in your hand, bro, just make something a little fancy, put a little in there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little like solo acoustic breakdown.
Sure.
Can you talk
Just
about
no bass solos.
Oh yeah, no. God no.
If I only like 4 bars of guitar solos,
That's true.
don't give me no bass solos, bro.
That's true.
I don't want to hear it.
That's true, man. That's true. This is kind of funny, like has there ever been like a nightmare experience on stage?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, plenty of them.
Yeah.
You want to know my first one?
Yeah.
I got to go in for you.
Yeah.
If you ever think I have a complex, this is why. When I was 12, we had a worship band for our children's church. And we had a bunch of, we had families in the church who were musical, and they all had kids around our age. And so, you know who DL Menard is.
Yeah.
2 of his grandkids were doing that with us, actually.
Oh wow.
Nathan and Victoria. Well, 3 of them, Sarah, the younger one, too. But I was kind of the worship leader, if you will, for it at 12.
Oh.
What a terrible idea that is.
That's horrible.
To put a kid on stage in a church at 12 like that. That's a terrible idea. But one day, we used to do this goofy thing, me and my buddies, where we would take the guitar and we would swing it a little bit to where the strap would invert to the back of the guitar, and we would sit it in between our legs.
Yeah.
And we would joke and call it hang time. Be like, hang time. We'd throw it right there. And I borrowed my buddy's brother's guitar. It was like a Les Paul copy. And I did it one day, right before we were on stage getting ready to play, on Sunday morning. And I threw it like that, and the strap pulled from right there. And it swung upward, and one of the tuning pegs caught me straight in the forehead.
Oh man.
And it just boom. And of course, when you do that, it shakes you for a second, your adrenaline kind of pulses. But I'm in front of all these kids, and even my contemporaries right here. And so I was just trying to hold it in, and I'm slightly bleeding from my forehead.
Oh my God.
So that's one example, but that was even before the show started. But in terms of while the show's going, I mean, there's definitely things I just have to think about it. Are you thinking a track go down or just anything?
Yeah, I mean, just some stuff that really took some adapting, or
Yeah,
I mean, not even just adapting, really just there's sometimes you just know oh, that was probably the worst show of my life.
Oh, I've been there. I've been there, bro. Here's a perfect adapting story for you. We went to play. I took a fill in Chicago one time. Another artist dropped the bill. And we would go play at this place called Old Crow Smokehouse, and we would have a blast out there. But this particular time, my band just wasn't available. And so I had 3 days to get a band out there. So I hired one dude had played for me before, but it had been I don't even know how long since he had played with me. And then a brand new drummer, and the guitar player. I couldn't find a guitar player in town. So my buddy was like, I got a buddy who lives in Chicago. He see if he'll play. And so he was like, yeah, I'll play. So he just drove to the gig from there. Never met him. Just, all right, jump on with us. Now, I don't even know if he was good or not because I couldn't hear him in my ears.
Oh.
But I was like, whatever. So anyway, this was when we were running on tracks. And at the time, I had an X Air that we would run from. And if you know anything about that series, the X Air, before you get to X32, the X Airs have a really, the Wi-Fi on them system is not great.
Right.
And so...
yeah.
Basically, I couldn't connect and it locked up because there was so many people in the room trying to connect to that Wi-Fi network, and it wasn't protected at the time.
Oh, what?
So I get into this gig. I'm about to play 3 or 4 hours at this bar, full of people. It's almost like a warehouse type of room. It's high ceilings. It's a big place, and the tracks are gone. Never played with these guys, and the thing is, we got cues in the tracks. So drummer will get there, bro. I was like, fuck me. Well, I drank 3 beers in 10 minutes right before we got on the stage, and we got hammered at this show.
Yeah.
But it went great. But I just remember being so nervous because I'm I've never played with this group.
Yeah.
To the degree we knew the songs, we just lost a lot of that security with losing those tracks.
Yeah.
But shout out to those dudes. They held it together.
Yeah.
Vincent Williams was on the drums, and this boy is a monster. Shout out to Vincent. That's the only time I've played with him. Honestly, he's too good for my gig, so that's good for him. Keep doing your thing, bro. He was so good that night, and I remember feeling so excited whenever I would introduce the band, and because I would always give everybody like a moment to solo or something. And the way we built it out in the show was we would do that at the beginning. We would play Up Down by Morgan Wallen. Boom, 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 down. And I had a little clip that would play for like 2 bars, and then the band boom, and we would just vamp on that. And I'll be like, this is my band, and so and everybody. And I always knew if I had a great drummer, that the energy of the show was gonna elevate. And he was like that. And so we had a great one, but in terms of losing those tracks stuff, oh boy, I was nervous. Yeah. So yeah, I've had, you know, stuff like that. Generally we've been able to salvage things well. But then there's just been times maybe where a player just sucked. You know? That's one reason I'm not playing a lot of full band stuff right now, is just because it's a lot of work just to get guys on the same page. So when I start gigging again, I'm actually going to play a 2-man setup, me, drummer, and tracks, because at least the tracks don't get the notes wrong, and they don't cost you anything nightly. So eventually I'll move back to playing with a full band, but for the time being, that's just gonna be the way I want to pull it off. And I feel like, you know, 2-man band can be a little weird for people, but I feel like if the front man can play a solo, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. Really? Yeah.
I am a big Royal Blood fan. Yeah, I mean, and that's a little, I mean, they don't even use tracks. Apparently.
He's just got a crazy pedal board and stuff.
Yeah, and like the drummer's triggering some samples and stuff, and like, you know, that's cool and all, but let me make sure time is good. I know you gotta.
No, you're good. I just had to check. My roommate text me. You're good.
But yeah, I mean, a 2-man setup is kind of sick, man. It's you know, but like, so would you think more of like all the basses in the tracks, or would you be doing kind of like
in this scenario, I'd put the bass in the track,
all the bass?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm trying to play guitar, so I wouldn't be able to play the bass in the show.
Yeah, no, just if like, because I know, you know, not really like Royal Blood, because it's a bass doing the guitar thing, but like I know some guitar players like Jack White do the guitar into a bass amp kind of thing.
Really?
You know?
No, if anything, what I would do is I would run a multi-out setup from the tracks and send a dry bass DI out to a real bass amp on stage.
Yeah.
If I wanted to fill some more like space in the room.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah.
Dang, man.
Yeah. I still got time though if you want to keep going. I've still got at least probably another 45.
Yeah, man, this is going by quick.
Yeah, it is. We talked about a lot.
Yeah.
Hit me with some fast questions. Let's do like some 20 questions or something. That's what we need.
Okay.
Hit me with them. Just let it fly. Let's see what you got. Nothing out of bounds.
Nothing's out of
Maybe
bounds?
some things will be. I'll call it out in the moment, but go for whatever.
I can always cut.
Best food in Nashville. Edley's Barbecue. That's my favorite.
Headley's, yeah. Okay.
Bro,
Headley's Barbecue.
Especially if you want to be on that line where you feel like I'm not trying to like pig out. I'm trying to be relatively healthy. Maybe I do a side of mac and cheese, but like,
make me so hungry.
bro, get the half pulled chicken platter at Edley's Barbecue. Now, also, Edley's has a sneaky good hot chicken too. Most people don't know they even have that. It's good. But yeah, the pulled chicken platter at Edley's.
Favorite music store? Too many.
Facebook Marketplace. Dude, I'll hardly buy anything new anymore. I mean, strings. But no, bro, I've been buying used. My dad's a used car dealer, bro. I'm in that hustle game, bro. I like to buy things cheap.
Favorite artist right now?
Ooh, right now? I gotta think about that. Knox is up there. I talked about him earlier. Hold up. Let me look at what I'm listening to lately.
I'm gonna need to get a list from you. I'll have to watch this thing back and write down all the names.
I like Nightly a lot. All of this is kind of in that pop rock world. That's always kind of been my favorite. I like this guy named Donnie Bennett I recently got into. It's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's a little goofy, but I love things that are deeply, deeply ironic. So like, no, I do. I'll tell you a good story about this in a second. I have a theory that whatever the most like ironic choices you can make are the things that are going to be popular in a couple years. So like
Right.
when something is so lame
Yeah.
that nobody wants to do it, it becomes a choice to do it now. And so it becomes edgy to do that thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's why you see a resurgence of like looks over time. So like you'll see people, like I've seen people wearing Jinko jeans again.
Yeah, 80s hair is back for sure.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Think about a couple years ago, you'd be like, what are you wearing?
Yeah.
You look like you're in the 90s. And now it's like, no, bro, the 90s are cool.
Right.
Like we've recycled this now.
Yeah.
So me and my buddies have had a love for, in terms of ironic looks, for we call it the crown. Some have called it the cul-de-sac. It's whenever a man has the sides but no top on his hair.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And we got really bored during COVID.
No
and
way.
if you dig back on my socials enough, you'll find it. But we were drinking beers one night on a Friday, and my buddy was like, I want to cut a mullet.
Yeah.
My buddy Austin LeBlanc. This is Dylan's brother. It was me, Dylan, and his brother Austin. And this was April 19th, 2020. That's significant. I'll tell you why in a second. And we were drinking beers. He's like, I want to cut a mullet. And then Dylan was like, if you cut a mullet, I'll shave my head. So we go in the bathroom and they do it, whatever. And we had been joking again about the crown, or like some people call it the cul-de-sac. And I had told him, I was like, bro, if I try to hold on to it that hard, like just punch me in the face or something. I'll just like joke with them like that. Like I don't want to hold on that hard, which I've recently shaved mine. Mine's done for. I've called it.
Oh, wow.
I'm out on it. I'm a new man. I'm in my 30s now, bro.
There you go.
Yeah. But at the time, we were still having fun with it. So Austin turns over to me. He goes, bro, you should cut a crown. And we're like 6 weeks into quarantine. Nothing's happening.
Yeah.
Nothing has happened. There's no outlook for anything. So I turned to him. I was like, do it before I change my mind. And he just, yeah. And we had the fucking time of our lives, bro. My mom thought I had a Britney 04 moment, dude. Or whatever year it was. Like, we went up to my dad's office, and he thought I was a customer at first. Didn't realize it was me. And I wore it for like a week. I was literally a different person. It was, I've never felt so bold in my life. It was seriously empowering. It was so much fun. And here's the thing. There's something about an ironic look like that when people don't know it, like people don't want to insult you still, right? Yeah. So they almost have to respect it, and it's a vibe. But I say that just to say one of these guys I've been listening to rocks that look, and he's got it like long on the sides.
Oh, Lord,
but his name is
dude.
Donnie Bennett, and it's kind of like soft, moody romance music. Here, I'll play something for you real quick. This is Konnichiwa by Donnie Bennett. I don't know if we can play this. You might have to.
Yeah.
This is the guy. Wait.
Yeah.
See him?
Oh my God, looking like.
See that? Can I show this to him?
Yeah.
That's the dude.
Oh my God.
Rocking the crown, bro.
Looks like some GTA character.
Yeah, I've been into that, but I'm pretty all over the place.
Nice.
So yeah, I'd probably say Knox, or there's a band called The Strike I really like. Kind of an 80s influenced. I would say they're very much in my niche. Yeah. They're cool too.
Favorite guitar right now?
Fender Meteora.
Yeah,
that's what I play. Oh yeah, I love mine. I see. Yeah, he's got one over here. Yeah. I got the blue sunburst, not sunburst, but like gradient.
Right.
Yeah.
That looks nice.
What else you got?
Favorite bar to play?
Like Broadway bar?
Yeah, in town.
It
doesn't have to be a bar. Favorite venue to play?
Whiskey Row first floor was always cool. Old Red's pretty cool too. Well, Wild Horse Saloon was as well. Those three, I'd say.
Dream Venue. That's a good one.
Cajun Dome.
Yeah,
I've played in there before.
That's
I played with Kylie Fry for the intermission at an Ice Skaters game to about 400 people in like a 17,000 cap venue.
That's sick though.
Yeah. In terms of just like, if I could pick something that's just like full circle, I'd want to go there. Yeah. But in terms of like what my real goals that I feel like that's a little bit more of like a novelty answer to that. Right. But in terms of like things that I really, really want to do, and I'm like adamant, House of Blues. If I could sell out a House of Blues, I like that level of success. Yeah. Maybe a little bigger. But yeah, I'm not, I don't feel like I need to play a stadium.
Which House of Blues?
It wouldn't matter.
Oh yeah,
just any of them or all of them.
Yeah.
Just that size venue is kind of where I'd like to see myself ultimately get to. I I really like intimate shows,
Mm.
and I feel like when you start getting beyond that,
Yeah.
it gets a little bit funny.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've always told people, like, I don't want to play shows where somebody's grandma sits in a lawn chair and watches me. Like, I want people standing up, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of, like, a casual concert too much.
And it seems like once you get that big, then like you even start becoming detached from like your audience and reality and like the Garth Brooks effect.
Bro, I've been detached from reality for years. I don't know where y'all talking about. I told you, I've had a complex since I was 12, bro.
Bro. Yeah. Oh, dude.
Throw me a couple more. Come on, give me some Spitfires. I'm going to have to think of some for you, too.
Favorite place to take a girl?
Ooh. I'm an asshole, but my first thought was home. That's a joke, but well, Edley's barbecue
Headley's Bar.
is a big one. If I'm really trying to make a good impression,
Yeah.
it's the first date. I don't want to go too hard.
Yeah.
Butchertown Hall, bro. Take them there. It's in Germantown.
Hmm.
It's not. It's real Instagrammy.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's a good photo op. It's a vibe. They're gonna bring you food on a wood board, so she gonna think you fancy. You know what I'm saying? They got good food. The portions aren't too big, so like you're not gonna catch yourself at the end being too bloated or nothing. It's close to if you want to do anything else after. Butchertown Hall. That's a good one. And then like if I was maybe on like date 2 or 3. I'd be tempted to take her down Broadway. Now, that's a terrible date idea. Don't anybody take that. The only reason I say that is because I know I could go down there and hit up on my buddies, be like, hey, let me jump on stage real quick. You know what I'm saying?
That's great.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah. So that's a factor. But yeah, no, Butchertown Hall is my real answer. I'll go with that.
Sick.
Where would you take her?
Oh, I mean,
First date, you got to make a good impression.
I mean,
Bradley, think about this too. Where
I
you
kind
going?
of.
My friend,
Skulls. Ooh,
my
yeah.
friend Laura works over there. Really? I haven't been there yet. I'm gonna
For
have to
the
go.
listeners at home, Brad said Skulls.
Skull's Rainbow Room.
Yeah, it's
My
pretty-
friend Laura,
pretty
who
jazzy.
goes by artist named Floater,
Hmm.
I produce for her, and it's like it's almost like Paramore, maybe a little. Some of it's a little heavier, some of it's kind of pop punk like that. But
I'd probably take her to the Flamingo.
that's a good one too. I've taken a date to the Flamingo. That's actually, you know what? That's actually probably I might change my answer because Flamingo you can do first date because I'm not
Yeah.
bringing any girl to Broadway first date.
Yeah.
No way.
No.
Like you bring her to Broadway to do that on the first date where you don't have an idea. You're like, I've exhausted all the good ones. You know, we're starting to sit into this. Okay, now I'll take her there. Right when you thought it was going to get boring. But Flamingo, you could go first night and be like, oh, it's just an open jam. I'm just going to jump on. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
Every
a good
time
idea.
I'm in there, I'm like, this is perfect.
Yeah, that's a great one. That is a great one. What's your favorite fast food restaurant?
I'm gonna get some flack, but Whataburger.
I like Whataburger.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my mom is from Texas, so I mean,
What part?
Victoria, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd eat the shit out of some Whataburger.
Hell yeah.
I love the patty melt. Love the
Yes.
shakes.
Yes.
Oh my
Big
God.
patty melt guy.
Big
and
patty
honey butter chicken biscuit. Almost said honey nutter chicken biscuit. Don't give me one of those. I don't want one. I'll pass.
Pause. What's your favorite fast food place?
Popeyes by far.
Oh yeah,
By
it's-
far.
It's pretty hard to beat, but
Absolutely. The only thing close is Raising Cane's.
yeah.
And I have
Ooh.
if my biggest fan Sydney ever watches this, she's gonna know what I'm about to say because she tells me this like anytime I talk about them and reminds me that
Yeah.
she understands exactly my love for Louisiana chicken.
Yeah.
But any given day, if you want to know that you're gonna have some great food, go to Cane's.
Dude, I changed my answer completely. I can't believe I forgot about Cane's. 'Cause
If-
I don't consider them fast food. I consider
Really?
them something above fast food. I'm like, but yeah, it is. It's drive through.
Yeah, if I want to know it's gonna be good, I'm gonna go to Cane's. But if I want to take a risk on having the fucking most hitting chicken that I can get, I'm going Popeyes.
Yeah.
It's more likely that it's gonna suck.
Yeah.
But if it's right, it's gonna
Yeah.
take over. It's gonna be the best.
Yeah. Popeyes is great.
Yeah.
I always take a Popeyes nap after.
Yeah. Do you like liquor or beer better?
I like beer.
Okay.
I'm a big beer
What's your
guy.
drug of choice?
Oh, weed.
Okay.
Yeah, I like weed.
Yeah.
I love weed, but lately I've been liking beer a little bit more.
Yeah.
I've been it just makes me feel the way I think I'm trying to feel.
The pace of beer is much better than liquor.
Yeah.
It just makes you fat and it tastes worse, but
Right.
you know, but I definitely I understand why guys who like want to watch football and binge all day drink beer and not
Yeah.
whiskey. Because if I did that, I'd make it like 2 hours and be passed out.
Yeah.
But I can drink a lot of whiskey.
Yeah.
I can, especially when I used to take Adderall. Bro, goodness. Let me tell y'all, I had some crazy first couple years in Nashville. Your boy went hard. I did. Now, granted, I was prescribed that Adderall, but I still don't. People at home, don't mix those things. Don't do it.
How old were you when you got to Nash?
24, and I turned 25 a month later.
Word.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've been here, so I guess that's about 5 years now.
Yeah.
Going on 5 years.
Yeah, I'm 23. I'm very tempted
Or 6.
to party, but like it's just
I mean, have a good time.
yeah, I'm having a good time.
But yeah, definitely be careful. Don't do things that you're gonna regret. Don't do things that you're gonna look back and think, oh.
Yeah, I feel like I got a lot of that out of my system.
Yeah.
First year at LSU was
Oh, you went to LSU?
Yeah, for a year.
Lame.
Yeah, it was
Raging Cajuns, baby.
It was just too much party. But
good.
yeah, I graduated from UL. Loved it.
Oh, really?
You know, I loved UL.
That's right. You said you were in the music business department.
Yeah. Yeah, and LSU didn't have one, so I was like, I got more going for me in Lafayette. Probably should go.
What's your favorite sport?
Ooh,
Do you like sports?
No, but I played baseball. So we still throw in the backyard every now and then. So it's nice.
Nice.
That was the only sport I was like okay at, and I really wasn't that good. So
okay.
Yeah, it's a good thing I stuck to music.
Nice. I feel that.
Yeah.
I had some other interests as a kid, but music is definitely the one that showed the most promise at,
Yeah. You a sports guy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the NBA.
Yeah.
Is probably my favorite. I love basketball, but I also love skateboarding.
Yeah.
And I used to ride motocross when I was a kid.
Oh wow.
I quit pretty young, but did for maybe like 3 or 4 years.
I would have been so much better at baseball if I watched it.
I was just scared of the ball, man.
I hear you, dude.
I was a small kid.
I hear you.
I didn't pass 5 foot tall until like 8th grade.
Yeah.
And
wow.
We had a small school, so I started varsity in 8th grade.
Yeah.
And so you're playing against seniors whacking the ball. And I also had, okay, speaking of having a complex as well, I had a baseball complex because one day at practice, the coach was hitting balls from the pitching machine to us to field. And I was the youngest guy on the team, so he's like, "Hey, start grabbing all the balls, return them to the bucket so we can go another round."
Yeah.
And there was one that was maybe halfway like between the mound and home. And he was like, I was kind of staying there. He was like, "Get that ball." And I was like, "No, you're going to hit me." He's like, "I'm not going to hit you." So I went to go grab the ball. They sure did put the ball right in the pitching machine when I walked right up there. They threw it, he hit it, and I took off running. Bam, and he knocked me right in the back of the thigh right there. And I was like, that's why I'm scared of the ball, coach.
Yeah. Dude, it is scary, man. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, but like also I couldn't throw. I'd throw it way over people's heads.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, I was not good. But yeah, small school, they made you play.
Yeah.
They didn't have anyone else. So.
Yeah. Well, we had enough for like a maybe 16, 17, 20 man roster or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how big the roster can get. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But like there was a handful of kids. Like we had enough players to be as big as a normal baseball team.
Yeah.
It's just that those players, it ranged a little bit more in terms of age, and it's not like you had a bunch of hosses out there, Yeah.
Yo, quick question. What's one of your favorite places that you've like traveled to?
Belize. Yes, I played. There's a Losers down there.
What?
You know the bar Losers?
Yeah.
Yeah, they sent me out there. Me and Clay Cormier. I brought him with me.
Damn.
When I first got to town, we went out, played there for a week, and it was awesome.
That's sick.
It was sick. It was sick.
Is sick.
Yeah.
Belize, is that
it's like
pretty water? Like,
oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's like not.
It's
Mexico.
in Central America.
Yeah.
It's not far from Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were on the island, so it was on the Gulf Coast side. They call it the island, San Pedro, but it's more of a peninsula, if you will. But it's really, really long. Yeah, it was cool. It was great. It was a bit of a culture shock, but it was sick. We didn't really hang out in the touristy places, but that was the best part. We hung out with a bunch of locals while we were there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Seems kind
Partied with them, cut up.
Not dangerous.
It can be. There was one guy out there one night. We looked like he was thinking about stabbing me or something.
Yeah.
He was fucked up and he was just staring at me. And there was one local dude with us who kind of spoke up and was like, "Yo, dude, what you need or whatever." And the dude just kind of eventually kind of wandered off. But they were like, "Yo, he probably wanted to fuck with you because you're white."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, this has been great, man.
Yeah.
So good.
What time we got? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we can wrap it up, man.
It's up to you. I still got a little bit more time.
Yeah, I'd
It's
love
up to
to
y'all.
wrap it up so we can kind of hang off camera. And,
Sure.
and do that kind of thing. But
I'm with that.
Thank you so much for
Bradley
coming,
wants
bro.
to play blast beats.
Oh yeah, you have a message for the people? Anything at home?
No, y'all have a good day. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. My name's Johnny Cochran. Check out. Don't really have anything too new coming just yet, but maybe about summer or so. Probably be dropping some new music.
Sick.
Yeah. But thank you for having me. Thank you guys.
Thanks for coming, man. Bye, everybody.